Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I have a little overview of some exponent rules. So in our previous lesson, we talked about exponent rules. If you have like something like x to the second power and x to the third power, you times those together, what happens? A lot of those different things. What's going on with this lesson, these notes here, is not only are they like exponents here, and you gotta deal with them, but they'll be rational, which means they're fractions. But all the same rules apply. So don't look at this and be like overwhelmed with the number of letters and stuff. It really helps to just like remember fractions are numbers too. And so if you have the same base and you're dividing these two things with different exponents, you just subtract the exponents. And so that's what's going on here. I'm going to kind of just gloss over what's going on here. Things like anything 0 power is 1 is still true. If you have a negative exponent, it puts it in the denominator, or much like last time, if it's the denominator, it's a negative exponent, you can put it in the numerator, and things like that. So a lot of these things are still the same, they happen to be fractional exponents. And so if you want to pause and kind of fill these in and make sure you have them on your notes, that'd be great. But let's look at what it looks like with like actual fractions and numbers. So I'm going to look at this right column here. If you have x to the 3/4 and x to the 5th, and they have the same basis of x, you're going to add those exponents. So 3/4 plus 1/5, you got to get the same denominator, which is 20. And so it becomes 15/20 plus 4/20, and so you get 19/20. So you can use a calculator to help you out with the fraction, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing stuff. Just be aware of that. If you have things dividing, you're going to subtract their exponents. If they're the same thing, you get an exponent of 0, which means you're going to get 1. If you have a negative exponent, it ends up in the denominator. If you have two things to the same exponent, they both get the exponent. If you have an exponent to another exponent, you're going to times them together, and when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply across the top and across the bottom, and then you can simplify the exponent as well as you can. And then if you have a fraction already and it has an exponent, each of the parts has that exponent on it. And then if you have a fraction and you have a -1 exponent, you can flip the whole thing upside down, because the negative exponents reverse where things are at. So the exponent properties are still the same, but now we're dealing with fractions this time. But you also need to be aware that fractional exponents give you something that you hear in something called a radical. So this is radical form, and this is exponent form of a thing. And the number on top of your rational exponent becomes the power inside, and then the number on bottom becomes the root on the radical there. So if I have something like x to the 7/3, that's going to be the third root of x to the 7th. And you can reverse, though, the order of it, so you can have third root of x and then the 7th up here outside, and that's fine. These two are equivalent to each other. But that's what's going on in the notes. So let's look at the practice assignment, which is called regular and rational exponents. So in this first section here, first two sections, we're just converting between our two different formats. So that's the last one we were looking at. So if I look at number 2 here, I got 4th root 5th power, so I'm going to get n to the 5/4 power. So you're just converting it so it's an exponential or exponent form. If something's on the bottom, that means it's got a negative exponent. So you can have 2x to the 4/3. But I want this to be up on top, so we're going to make this a negative exponent. It's going to look like that. And so that's what's going on in the first section. Second section, again, you're going to convert these to the other form, which is going to be radical form. So I'm going to look at 12 here. I can actually do some simplifying here. These can combine here. So I can get v to the -2/4 power, which is v to the -1/2 power. And the negative exponent lets you know it's going to be in the denominator. And the 1/2 lets you know that it's going to be the square root of v, right? It's second power 1 there. But if it's just a square root, you don't need the 2. And you end up with something looking like this. Some of them you can simplify like that, but most of them there's not this exponent to an exponent thing. You just convert it. So something like this becomes 1 over the 5th root of 10r squared. Square that. Make sure you have it on both parts there. So this will go into the first section. The next section, this is where you are simplifying things as much as possible. And so something like this becomes x to the 7 times 7, 49, over 8 times 8, 16th power. And that's it. That's you're just trying to simplify the just trying to simplify the expression that's there. So that's going on that. Good luck on your practice.